was inspired by the media days at Lucas Oil, so we're out on the field. It's kind of cool actually, but it's a good day, right? And always look forward to this day when we get a chance to start fall camp, and I think, like I've said before, I like a lot about this team, and yet I know that there's a lot of work that we have to get done, and I look forward to doing that. And fall camp I think it's a great time for a team and for individuals to truly get ready, and we're excited to be obviously playing this year, but to make the most out of this season, we got to have a great fall camp.
We do have microphone holders, AJ and Patrick, so flag one of them down.
Yeah, Paul, can you expand a little bit on the specifics of what you like about this team even before camp starts?
Yeah, I think what I like about this group is, I like the individuals, who they are, and I enjoy being around them. I think that they're a group that wants to be coached, that I think is willing to do. We got to have purpose to it, but they're willing to do what they can to be the best they can be. And I also think it's a group that values team, and now our actions have to follow that, right? But I think we've got a number of guys that have enough experience that truly know and value, to do something well. It takes purposeful effort and action, and so I think we've got that. I think we've got a number of guys that have played, and some that haven't. That I'm anxious to see them this fall camp and see if they can earn a meaningful role. And I say that, and really every role should be meaningful, but where they can truly contribute in a fashion, and how do we come together and be the best we can be. But I think they want that, Jeff. So that's why I say I like them. I like the individuals, and I like kind of where they're coming from.
Paul, for you and your staff, how different are these new rules with the limited contact days and limited scrimmage time? Just how different is that from what you guys have been doing in years prior?
It's I don't know exactly, but when you get the rules, it's our job to apply them in such a way that you can still get done everything you need to get done. And I think the one thing that really, through the course of my coaching, there's been a number of changes. It's probably a bigger change was when we went from 2-a-days to 1-a-days, and I think that's all. You gotta make it to where it's this is what the rules are, and how do you make the most of them. But I don't know how different. I really do believe we can get done what we need to get done.
I know every team went through a bunch of issues off field last season with COVID and stuff, but y'all had particular issues plus regular run-of-the-mill injuries at receiver and running back. Having those guys back, particularly running back and receiver, being healthy at those spots, how much more confidence does that give y'all after what y'all had to go through offensively last season?
Yeah, everyone went through a lot last year, and you try to learn from it, and I think that we're always going to be our best when we have everyone available, right? Will that happen? Odds are not in your favor that way, but I think that certainly any group, if you can have, one thing you want to have is consistency. And that certainly is an area offensively where we've got to be where we can improve, be more consistent. And, part of it is when the lineup changes, doesn't matter, what unit, that makes it harder. But at the same time, I think one goal that we all have as coaches is how do we develop, not just develop depth, but develop a depth with a consistency that, like I said, things are going to happen, and guys will, invariably miss time. And how do you not have it affect negatively the group? And I think that's certainly a big goal that you have every year at camp, is to develop not just depth, but good, productive depth that can play at a consistent level, so that when those things do happen, you don't have the drop off. And that's all of our jobs, right? Coaches and players.
Paul, you're a little more than a month into the name, image, and likeness era, and Graham's had a lot come his way. How do you think he's handling it, and really how are your other players as a whole kind of handling everything new that's coming at them?
Yeah, it's I haven't had a lot of discussions with our, specifically with our players about how they're viewing it. I have thought all along, that it can be a good thing, but it can also be, a distraction, and that's everyone's job to make sure that it, the main things stay the main things. And the one thing I've always appreciated, when talking with Graham specifically about it, is I believe he's coming from a good place, and being a great teammate is important to him, and so I'm going to still trust that. And I think everyone's navigating these waters, and certainly I think everyone in sports kind of knows that there is going to be different levels, and yet I think some are probably experiencing it more for the first time, and those are all opportunities for us to grow and to learn. But I think if we want to be the best team we can be, we've certainly got to, everyone in the program's got to do their best to, like I said, focus and keep the main thing. And to me, that's how can we be the best team, and how can each guy contribute to us being the best team. And while they're doing that, continue to have the opportunity to go to school and earn a meaningful degree. Those things last, and then I think if you can approach it, that what comes out of the name, image, likeness is kind of a residual of that. If you want name, image, likeness to work for you, be a part of a good team and be a good contributor on a good team. And we've really, it's the first time it's been monetized and legalized the way that it is, but you can probably look back and say it's been going on for a long time. It's just now it's a formal, it's formalized more. But I don't think the recipe changes any, and we're lucky, and many of the guys on this team are fortunate that, they got to be around a guy like JT. And you talk about a guy that absolutely did it the right way. And now I know it was a different time, right? We all do. But at the same time, I don't think his approach would be any different. And it shows you, once he became a pro and all that kicked in, he had more than enough opportunities. Why? Because he was the person he is and the player he is. And I think that's still a pretty good recipe. Our guys you got to see it firsthand. You got to see it every day. You got to see it in the locker room, in the meeting rooms, off fields, on campus, in the apartments. He's a great example.
Paul, a lot of new faces on the coaching staff too, and just to kind of talk about, you saw them in the spring, got a little bit of a taste of them. How excited are you to see them now come into the fall and help these guys out?
Well, I'm really excited. I'm grateful and appreciative to, one, get to do what I get to do, but to do it with the group that we have. And, certainly, like you said, we were able to, for Gary and Hank and in some ways with Ross, the three kind of new additions, spring was important for our players to get a great feel for them. And even Alvis, didn't have a spring last year, and, fall preseason last year was very different. So I think there was some benefit to all that. Like I said, I'm grateful for being able to do this and with this group, and I have a lot of trust and confidence in this group, and it goes back to, I like the moves that we were able to make with our whole staff, kind of the way things unfolded for us last year, last year, kind of what do we need to do to be better, as a staff. And one of it was, I thought that Jimmy had a lot on his plate, and so if we could give him some help, and also, I had a chance to work with Hank and to be able to hire and be able to work with Hank. I was excited for our players, and not that Jimmy wasn't coaching them, but like I said, I think now we're able to give our safeties a little bit more attention and our corners more attention, and that was important. And to do that, we had to reshuffle some things on offense, and that's really what drove me getting to be more involved. I have all the trust and confidence in the world in Joe, but Joe and I sat down and said, okay, what do we need to do to help this group be the best it could be? And it was, to fully, commit Joe to the offensive line. And I said, okay, to do that, then I can step in and I'll do quarterbacks. That gives us an extra spot on defense. And I'm really excited about having Gary here, and I love the way that he goes about and teaches the game and his approach. And I've been around Ross and when he was coaching and when he's in the weight room, and love the way that he is on the field. I think it's really good for us. So I think I feel great with the additions that we've been able to have come join us, and I appreciate what everyone did to help make that work. But I'm really confident in the group. I trust the group a ton, and absolutely looking forward to fall camp with them.
Well, we saw Caden come back from that injury in the fall to have a pretty productive spring. What have you seen from him this summer, kind of owning that center position even more than we saw last season?
Yeah, I think, with Caden, it has been fun to see kind of his confidence level rise, and I think what that therefore allows is to help focus and put energy into other guys, right? And if you can do that, we're going to ask that out of a lot of our upperclassmen, and that's what's always fun about a new season, is that everyone's role will be a little bit different, and Caden's is one of those. How can he, take the steps necessary individually, and which I think he's done a really nice job of, but then also, all right, now what can you give back, and how can you help to make the unit, whether it's the O-line unit or not just the offense, our team better. And I think that's what I think he's in position to do now. And had he not done all the work to get to that point individually, I don't think a guy's capable of doing that. And I think he's done a nice job there. And I think that's the next thing you kind of look for. And I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that out of him.
Well, a couple other off-season topics that came up. One would be the potential expansion of the college football playoff, and then potential realignment with the SEC grabbing two teams. Do you have strong feelings on either topic? Like, would you want to see, do you think it would be good for the game to see more teams have a chance in the playoff? And how do you feel about where the Big Ten is and where you might want to see it go in terms of its makeup?
Yeah, Jeff, I've spent a lot of time on those things that I have so much control over. But I mean, you don't. The game is important, right? And it's important to me, and it's important to kind of everyone in this program and the athletic department on this campus in the state. That's what's pretty cool about being here. A lot of people care about it, and I think that there's to have more opportunity. There's value to that. I think that there's so many things that have to work along with that, that it's going to take really a lot of work, which is possible to do, but everyone has to, if they can come from what's really good for the game. And, I think that, how many games do you really want being played? And, I still am a fan of the bowls and the bowl system, and I know what that has meant to so many kids. And we've gone to some really, the highest level type bowls other than the championship ones, and we've been in other ones, but they've all been really good experiences, right? So how you incorporate that, and I think the one thing about the end of the year is you are navigating the finals, and we're not all on the same academic calendar. And so a long way of saying, I think that absolutely worth looking into and considering. I think myself, players would be in favor of it, but then you got to assess what are you giving up to get that, and that's where I think you really need people that truly care about the game to be a big influencer in those decisions. And you asked about Big Ten. It'll be interesting. It's I think it was significant what we saw with Texas and Oklahoma, and how each conference kind of reacts to it or plans to go ahead. I think it'll be interesting. It's obviously a time for the leadership. This is the time to lead.
Just what's the
It's
next?
just fascinating to watch. It's like close race. You need to pick up your game a little bit on the edge. Nicely done. I still think we should.
Jamal Williams did that. Had two reporters play rock, paper, scissors to see who would ask the next question.
It's been around for a while. Like it's a good way to solve these things.
Just what's the next step you want to see from Graham, and just what did you think of his approach this spring, and whatever you were to see it from him this offseason?
Yeah, I liked his approach. I appreciated his approach. He's got to be more consistent, and I'll end up saying that about every guy the whole time, but it's the truth, right? How can you be better and then do that at a consistent level, and then keep finding ways to get better and be consistent at it. But I have absolutely been impressed, and I appreciate the way he's approached it, and I think it's been with purpose, and I think that he's accurately saw what happened last year and kind of where he's at and what he did well and areas he's got to improve upon, which I think is a big part of it. And now we got to, we certainly, within whatever, spring practice, and then, you get a chance to do some stuff in the summer. I liked everything he's done to this point, but now fall camp is a great time to kind of put all that learning into action, and got to help him get there. But it's kind of like what we talked about first when I was asked, what do I like about this team? Graham's a great example that it's important to him. He wants to be coached. He wants to kind of, have a high bar, and it's our job to help him do that.
Paul, a couple questions ago, you were talking about taking more off Jimmy's plate, but by doing that, you added more to your plate. I think from the outside, that seems like a pretty big deal that the head coach is now coaching the quarterbacks and just has added more to his daily grind. Is that a fair way of looking at it, or what changes specifically with you in terms of how you operate now?
It's I think what changes is probably that you have to, at times, you have to be a little bit more narrow-minded, right? And you're going to take time to do that. You know, you've got to take time in the off season to study what you need to study, and that's why all of these decisions, part of the reason you're able to do it or not is, for me, it's the trust and confidence with those around you, and players are included in that, you know, and what do they need, and what was it that I was providing that maybe I can't do as much of, and you make sure that it's getting done. And so I think what led to it all was, you know, if you didn't have great confidence in, you know, all your defensive coaches, then spending too much time with the offense could be detrimental. But I feel real good there. You know, I feel like we got the right people in place to allow something like this to happen, and that's why they're all kind of intertwined, and I think that's, you got to do whatever you can do to make the team the best it can be, and I think this is the best way to do it. And you know, it's you know, it's humble of, you know, Rudy to do what he's did, but he cares nothing more than this team, and wanted to make sure he could do all that he can do for the group that he could do. And same thing, you know, there's a lot of guys in my position, it's a lot easier to not do that, but this is why we're here, and this is the fun part about it, is how can we help this group be the best they can be. And so I think it takes everyone to make something like that happen, and you know, even off-field support staff, you know, I trust that group, so then you don't have to spend as much time maybe dealing with different things. It goes all the way up to, you know, kind of your dealings and the way you interact with, you know, Mac and whatnot. So I think really everyone allows for it to happen, and hopefully I do a good job with it.
Paul, talking about helping out too, back in May you were part of a Badger trio that gave back to local Pop Warner group after they had the football equipment shed go on fire. Now that they have a chance to play this fall, what does it mean to you to give back and be so committed to the youth football scene here?
I think that, you know, you always look for opportunities that you can give back in a meaningful way, and obviously, you know, football, the game, but really as much kind of what comes out of the game means a lot. And so if you can help in some way provide that opportunity, why wouldn't you, right? And so I think those are easy ones, and you want to do as much as you can, right? But when you heard about it, that was a pretty kind of a no-brainer, and that was cool too. You know, you know, call Kyle Borland, you know, was with Rydell and played here, and he was a big part of that. And, you know, just how different people rally around it. I think it's always it's inspiring.
Got time for one more?
The closer.
Well, obviously the offense missed guys like Pryor and Davis last year, but Dunn had his best season. I'm guessing his role might not be the same this year. Is he the type of guy who will care if he has fewer catches, maybe gets a little less PT, as long as things click on offense?
Yeah, I do believe he is driven by the team. I think that's what kind of puts him in position to make those. It's not the same, but it's similar to what we just talked about. I don't think you ever do something to get something, but I do think the more you give, somehow it comes back to you. And I think that's going to be the key to our success as a team. You know, that how many guys can we get to truly significantly contribute and not let that a number judge it. And the good part is, you know as a player when you're contributing, and yeah, this one's a stat contribution or this one's not, but it really shouldn't change the way you feel. And I think, getting back specifically about Dunner, I think that he is, if he can truly contribute, that is the most meaningful thing to him. Everyone wants, to contribute. And, AJ Taylor, I learned that watching him. He wanted so bad sometimes he would kind of become a little bit of his own worst enemy. Coming from a good place, but want to do it. And so I think that's part of your job as a coach, is to how you can, one, show value to it, the things that aren't necessarily a statistical piece of it. And then also, I think that's teammates know, right? And that's what we've got to reinforce, and you build that culture. Because I think for us, how many times we know that, and you guys know a lot of production out of linebackers, but a lot of stuff was happening up front. And you don't want to ever see that. Like, I want Keanu to be productive this year. I want him to impact games, and Henny, right? But they also need to know that them doing their part may not lead to a direct stat, but it could. They know. And I think that if we can have that truly be a fabric of this team, then I think we have a chance to be the best team we can be. Thank you.